Tom, I'm ready and prepared. Hold on, I gotta keep an alert. All right. Stephanie is a community sales advisor for holiday retirement at their Madison Meadows location in North Central Phoenix. She began working in senior living in 2019 after being recruited through LinkedIn. The recruiter sought her out based on her experience in hospitality. Prior to this role, Stephanie grew her career mainly with the Hard Rock Cafe in various management positions, including retail, restaurant operations, and sales and marketing. The years she spent as a caregiver for her late grandmother served as an inspiration for her career shift into senior living. That's what I got for you.
All right. Thanks, Justin. All right, so can you allow me to share my screen there, Tom?
Oh, absolutely. I apologize for not having that set up for you. There you go. You should be able to share your screen now.
All right. Share.
Yep, we can see that.
All right. Present. There we go. Hey, all right. So thanks again, Justin. So again, my name is Stephanie, and I am with Madison Meadows Senior Living. And I'm going to be talking about kind of like an overview of senior living, because I think it's kind of new to a lot of people. It was definitely new to me. As Justin mentioned, I made the shift in 2019, have built my career in hospitality. I was actually in radio and television before then. I never thought senior living was something that I was going to find myself in until the LinkedIn recruiter found me. And I really did think about my grandmother. I took care of her at the end of her life. And honestly, I love seniors. They're so much fun. I love my old people. So that's a little background on me. Real quick about holiday retirement. So holiday retirement has been in the business of senior living for about 50 years. My location here, Madison Meadows, is in North Central Phoenix. We're on 7th Street, just north of Glendale Avenue. For those of you who are maybe some Phoenix natives, you might recall it being Gompers. So it was a school for special needs children. And we've been managing it as senior living for the past 30 years. But holiday retirement has about 240 locations nationwide. Most of them are all independent living, and we do have some assisted living communities in other states like Texas or Hawaii. My location here in Madison Meadows is one of 5 in Arizona. We have 1 in Yuma, 3 on the West Valley, and I am the only one here in Central Phoenix. So before we get into the types of senior living, I just wanted you to take a minute and think about a senior who you know. Think about someone who's going through a change in their life. Maybe they lost a spouse due to death or due to a silver divorce. This is something Justin and I talked about in our one-on-one a couple months ago. A lot of families come to us looking into senior living communities because they don't have family nearby themselves. You know, a lot of adult children have moved to other states. Think of a senior in your life who has had a change in their health needs recently. Maybe they've had a fall. Maybe they've had a stroke. Maybe they've had a surgery and they just can't do the things that they used to be able to do. Think of a senior in your life whose doctor has just straightforward told them they cannot live at home anymore. It's no longer safe. So we all know somebody that's been going through these changes. So think about them. Maybe put their name in the chat or if you don't want to put their exact name, you can just put somebody who you know, and how you may know them. It could be someone from church, a family member, a client. There are so many seniors in the area of Phoenix. In addition to the Phoenix metro population increasing, seniors actually make up nearly 14% of the population. Here at Madison Meadows, we're really close to the VA, so we see a lot of veterans. So there are over 73,000 veterans in the Phoenix area, and over 63% of them are seniors. So there are a lot of aging adults here in the area. Age is an opportunity. No less than youth itself, though, in another dress. So as I mentioned, senior living is kind of new to me. I've been in this business for almost 2 years now. And something that I read and reference quite frequently is How to Say It by Seniors by David Soleil. During my training, I actually learned about our different developmental stages, and he references them in their book. And I think it's great in understanding our seniors. So we start out as a toddler, and that's when we're learning about wants versus needs, and our need for control is kind of centered around this. We're propelling forward to that next phase in our life, which is a teenager. This is our rebellious phase. This is where we're seeking our independence and trying to become an adult. So then we're propelling to the next phase, middle adulthood. That's where a lot of us are right now. I'm in my 30s. So we're trying to find that balance of a professional life, a family life, a career, giving back to the community, what sort of, legacy you want to leave for yourself. Now, when you get to be a senior adult, that becomes a little real, right? Because what's that next step forward? It's end of life. I mean, it's not something that you really want to dwell on or think about, but it's a reality, and it's something that our seniors are dealing with and trying to propel forward to that next phase. What is their legacy? What are they going to leave behind? These are things that our seniors are struggling with and thinking about. So when we think about our seniors, sometimes these stereotypes come to mind, right? I put up a picture of the movie Grumpier Old Men. Obviously Hollywood perpetuates a lot of the stereotypes because it is funny. I mean, let's be honest. I like making fun of my dad, and he's only in his 60s. So there are some sort of, characteristics that we think about when you think about a senior. They're stubborn, they're repetitive, they are forgetful, they tell the same old stories over and over again. Maybe they're frail or temperamental. I know my dad sees this a lot in his mom. She's a hoarder, but what's the why behind this? Before you contradict an old man, my fair friend, you should endeavor to understand him.
Yeah.
So what's going on with our seniors? What they're dealing with is a lot of loss right now. Again, Soleil mentions this in his book. Again, if you can get this book, How to Save to Seniors, David Soleil, it's going to explain a lot. The loss that our seniors are experiencing, the loss of physical strength. Again, I'm in my 30s and I can't do a lot of things that I could do when I was in college. Imagine being somebody who's in their 70s, somebody who had a fall, broken a hip, lots of physical strength, things make them tired that didn't used to. The loss of a peer group. As we age, what happens? Our social circles, they're aging too. People that we, spend time with at our church, or family members that were of our age, they're getting smaller and smaller because people are passing away. The loss of consultative authority. So ours is a society that doesn't necessarily revere our seniors as like the wise old source. We'd rather Google something for some advice rather than going to a senior. So they're really losing that sense of authority that maybe they had when they were a middle adult and could tell their teenager what to do and someone would console in them. They don't really have that anymore in this society. The loss of identity. So a lot of seniors have been in their industry for like a really long time, longer than people of my generation who tend to kind of bounce around a little bit. There was a time in, the world where people started a job and they retired at that job, and their entire identity was really wrapped up in that. So imagine retiring and being out of it, and the whole landscape of that industry that you identified yourself with, it's changed, and things are changing really quickly and rapidly right now. So now you don't have that identity anymore. Or even the homemaker, the spouse. Maybe her husband passed away. Her children are adults now and don't really need her. So she doesn't really have that identity anymore. The loss of financial independence. Now, we do have financial advisors here in the chamber, and they can tell you it's time to plan for your retirement like 20 years ago. And that's definitely true, because what happens when you become a senior and now you're relying, rather than that, steady income of your job, you have Social Security, you have your pension, and then you have whatever family contributions that your family is willing to help you out with. So really, you don't have that financial independence anymore that you used to. And this all really manifests, and this is just all about loss of control. That's what seniors are dealing with right now. And the biggest loss of control, it's the home, right? So think about that senior in your life. Have you been to their home and thought, wow, this is just not a safe environment? But it's hard to tell them that. There's stairs, there's things like bathtubs that they have to get in and out of, maybe a kitchen that's not safe anymore. And there are great resources out there to help aging adults stay in their home safely. I work with a wonderful occupational therapist that can really evaluate a home and make it safe. But let's get real here. That's going to come with a cost, because sometimes it causes like entire bathroom remodeling and stuff, not to mention the upkeep of a home. So, again, I have a hard time, like carving out a time to clean my 600 square foot 1-bedroom apartment. Imagine a senior who has a whole, house that they've been in, and they're maybe even only utilizing one half of it because they can't get up and down the stairs. So who knows what's going on upstairs, not to mention the landscape. So having a discussion with the senior about leaving their home, this is a big deal, and it's not to be taken lightly. They've been in this home for 40, 50 years. You know, they raised their children in this home. And when you think about the generation that went through the Depression, this is really a sense of pride for them. They own this home. This is real. This is not like you buy the home and flip it. Like, this is, you know, something that they really invested in. So, you know, and we can, this is an entire subject in and of its own, how to approach a senior about leaving their home. But something, you know, a suggestion that I could throw out there is, rather than saying, this isn't safe, Mom, you got to go to a senior living community, you're not giving them a choice. You know, it's giving them that control back to them and saying, okay, well, you want to live in your home? This is what we have to do. I'm going to contact Emily over at Purposefully Home, and she's going to come over and she's going to do an evaluation, and we're going to remodel the bathroom, and then we got to get your kitchen up to fire code. And now all of a sudden Mom's like, okay, this old house is not worth it. Let's explore some other options. So independent living is another option. And that's what we do here at Madison Meadows. So some of the things that we help residents with that they can't get, you know, on their own is the connection, the isolation, right? So we experience this a lot during COVID. You're seeing your seniors not getting that connection that they used to. Thankfully here, when you're a part of a community, there are folks around you with similar interests. The safety. Again, you know, all of our apartments come with brace bars. We can add features to them to make it more safe for them. Our residents get a medical alert pendant to you know, help them with falls and stuff like that. Wellness. So we do have a exercise room, but we've got wellness activities back again. We're doing our water aerobics, we're doing Tai Chi. These are all things that maybe a senior can get at a senior center, but let's be honest, are they going to get out of their home and go to it? Here in a community, all of this is at their fingertips. And affordability, and we'll go a little bit more into this, but if you were to put side by side what you're paying for your bills to be at home versus what you could pay in a community, is actually quite comparable. Meals, I hear a lot from families that they're concerned that their loved ones really not taking care of themselves when it comes to their nutrition. And then think of that's because it's so time consuming for them and they don't really have the energy for it. All of your senior living communities, whether it's independent or assisted, meals are going to be a component. Transportation. So this is another big one. What's the first thing that gets taken away from a senior before their home? It's their keys, right? They're no longer safe on the road. And now they're having to rely on their family members to drive them around, and public transportation that's like not the best for seniors. And let's be honest, most of them don't really know how to navigate a Lyft or an Uber. And now they're feeling like a burden. So when they're a part of a community, there are complimentary transportation services that are included. So again, there are different types of senior living. So I touched on a little bit about independent living, which is what Madison Meadows is. We're our 55 plus independent senior living community. And what that means is it's non-medical. However, we do have a home care company on property, and we're actually getting a physical therapist and occupational therapist on property. So our residents who do need that little bit of extra help, that don't need that 24-hour care, they can add it on a la carte. Now, the next level up is assisted living. And Tony's another senior living person here on the call, and she can kind of dive a little bit more into the next levels up. But assisted living is really for someone who needs a little bit more care. They're going to do an evaluation and have different care levels. Again, we're going to get into the difference of independent versus assisted living because sometimes people confuse the two. But there is definitely a place for all of these levels of care. So continuing care retirement communities, these are communities that have the different tiered levels where they're going to guarantee that when your loved one moves in there and they start out as an independent, they're going to have a space for them all the way through end of life as their needs increase. But it is come at a price. There is a buy-in for that. Memory care is obviously for someone who has maybe had a dementia diagnosis. Now, we've had folks live with us independently with some memory issues and still be safe. Now, when they are no longer appropriate is when they get aggressive behaviors and really start, you know, wandering onto 7th Street. That's when we'll step in and say, hey, let's look at some memory care options for you because they are secured. They do have 24-hour staffing and they have people that are professionals and specifically memory care. Adult family homes and group homes. A lot of our residents actually come to us because they maybe had a fall and rehabbed and were placed in a group home to continue their rehab because their doctor said, hey, you can't go home. A group home is a place where, there are shared spaces. You're sharing a bedroom or you're sharing a bathroom. I mean, it's a home. It's a giant home usually, and meals are included. But a lot of folks will come to us because now they've done that recovery and they don't need to be in a group home anymore, but they still need a little bit of help. They want their own space. So we do actually see a lot of folks come to us from a group home. Skilled nursing is kind of that stereotype that you get when people think about senior living. They think about that kind of final level there, skilled nursing. They think of the old nursing home and people being in beds. And these are for folks that are definitely need really specialized care, round the clock care, or end of life care. So some of the misconceptions of independent senior living, we touched on this, and I hear these things all the time. Everyone there is old. I'm not old. Well, independent senior living is open for adults that are 55 and up. Currently here at Madison Meadows, my youngest resident, she is 55. And my oldest residents, they're 99. So there's quite an age range here. There's no privacy. I don't have my big old house anymore. Each resident has their own apartment. It's your space. And then if you want to participate in things, then you just open your door and there are friends. Well, what about my things? Can I not bring my furniture? Is it furnished? No, all of our apartments come unfurnished because it's really important for folks who are moving in to, maintain that sense of their home and their belongings. And again, we work with a lot of senior professionals that can help when it comes to downsizing, because that is a very emotional process for seniors. A lot of people think, well, I will lose my independence. So we're an all-inclusive community where we provide meals and housekeeping and the utilities. Basically, I like to say we take the chores out of life so you can focus on the things that make you happy. Our residents still have the freedom to come and go. This really saved us during COVID because we are non-medical, so the family members were never shut out of our community. They were still able to come and visit their loved ones. Well, I'll be bored. Well, no, there's activities and entertainment at no extra cost. I mentioned our shuttle bus. So we're starting to do activities again off property. We're doing a trip to the Heard Museum. We have another resident that wants to, get involved with going to theater trips. We do bring entertainers in. As I mentioned, our Tai Chi guy is back in the building again. And we have water aerobics. All of these sorts of things are included at no additional cost. So I can't afford it. I touched on this a little bit earlier. Factor in the cost of property taxes, utilities, house cleaning, if you're going to pay for your own housekeeper to come in on a weekly basis. Someone to come and maintain the lawn. Transportation, how much are you paying, in Uber and Lyft and HOA fees and your groceries. If you compare it, that's actually pretty comparable. And I have a tool for families to help evaluate the price comparison. I'll be forced to move again eventually. Maybe again, if it's a memory care issue and we determine that they're no longer safe, where they do need that 24-hour care because they can't transfer themselves from, their bed to the chair to the toilet, and they need that 24-hour lift assistance, that's where more assisted living and memory care steps in. However, we have a philosophy here at Madison Meadows where we like to try to help our residents age in place with grace. So again, we have the Bright Star Home Care on property, and a lot of the things that they assist our residents with are medication management, setting up the medicine, shower standbys, laundry services, and these are on a la carte basis because our residents, again, they don't need 24-hour care. They can just add on the things that they need. And this goes all the way from home care to home health with wound care, palliative care if they have a new diagnosis like cancer, all the way I've had folks stay with us on hospice. As long as they're not a danger to themselves or others, they can age in place with grace here and not have to move again. And again, there's a difference between assisted living and independent living. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but again, there's a brief little overview here where assisted living really is more of that 24-hour care where they need the attention. Maybe somebody's more of a fall risk. And because here we're non-medical, so we don't do the lift assist. Assisted living is a place for that. And it does come at a higher cost because you are paying for those things. So again, if somebody's care needs are not that extreme yet, independent living is a great option for them. I never get too busy in my own affairs that I fail to respond to the needs of others with kindness and compassion. So this is a quote from one of our residents in one of our Ohio communities here. She says, living in an independent living facility beats living at home because everything is taken care of for you. Also, you can remain in your apartment or be social whenever you want. Just step out your door. We still have many choices living here. Living in a retired community enriches your life because there are other people around and lots to talk about. You are not isolated as in your former residence, and you will make new friends who live nearby. They become like family. So look at that name you put in the chat again. Think about another senior who's going through changes. My name is Stephanie Wilson. I'm with Madison Meadows Senior Living. And when you think about that aging adult in your life, I want you to think about me, and I would love to make them part of our family here at Madison Meadows.
Wow, that was great.
Stephanie, you just raised the bar on presentations. Awesome, awesome job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Stephanie?
I just have a quick question. Do you work with anybody that sort of assists in the move-in process or the move-out process, or do you have a team with your facility that does that?
So as far as like just standard movers,
Like a mover, yeah.
Yeah, so our company works with Moves for Seniors because we are nationwide, and Moves for Seniors, they facilitate nationwide moves. Like I actually had somebody move here from New Mexico, so they facilitated the movers from New Mexico to here, but they do work with different companies. Like Moves for Seniors isn't a company, like they aren't the movers, they work with other local movers. So they offer anybody moving into one of the holiday retirement communities a really great discount. However, I do have other local movers that I like to recommend that I know personally. I always like to refer to local if I can, but to some people, it really is just about a price point. So I like to give them both options.
Thank you.
Are there other holiday properties in this market that have other higher level care options?
Not in Arizona. All of the Arizona locations are independent living.
Okay, awesome. And you've got a great referral partner here on the call with Tony.
Yes, Tony, I met when I first started in this business. So I'm glad to see her being a part of the chamber and in her new role at our new community. And I'm excited for her open house.
Yeah.
What's that?
I have something to say. Okay. Stephanie, thank you so much for your presentation. It was nice to see, and you made it easier to understand. I have an aging dad, which is 87, and I have to do every single step that I have housekeeping that goes there. I do his groceries, I take him to appointments, I do all of that for him. What I have struggled with, and I wrote down the name of the book you mentioned, is trying to convince him that we gave him a couple of different options, even moving in with us, and he refuses to leave his house. So do you have any recommendations, or how, when we say enough is enough, because now he's roaming out in the streets, and I have gotten phone calls from police officers to go pick him up because, he's fallen asleep or something, not, safe. What do you recommend when that time comes?
And Tony, if you can feel free to jump in too, since you're quite an expert on this as well. But my question would be, are you doing all this alone? Are you using a service at all to help you with him yet?
No, we're doing it alone. He's still he can still get up and shower, and, he can't walk very far the distances. And I feel in the next 6 months, he's having a heart procedure, which I think will pretty much, that'll be the leveling point where we'd really need to either put him somewhere or we need to hire somebody to live with him. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, he's Greek, so he's very stubborn. There's no taking him out of the house. It's not an option kind of deal. But what ideas would you have to kind of?
I'd love to give you the name of my friend Emily Riley with Purposefully Home. because again, she's come to our community and she's actually going to help somebody transition into their apartment here and outfit it for the things that they need. But that is like really her wheelhouse, is when people are insistent in staying at home, evaluating the home and taking the time with the senior and kind of changing it and transforming the home. And again, sometimes it's just small things here or there. Sometimes a complete like bathroom remodel, which could be pricey, which could be the breaking point. And I'm like, okay, just find me another place to live. You don't know really. But again, if he's really insistent on staying at home right now, I would love to give you Emily's contact information and just kind of use that as a starting point there.
I would like that.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you.
Any other questions or comments or advice for Irene?
I have a question on that. So for a client like Irene's dad, or I work with different families and you can tell they need some level of care. So for both Stephanie and Tony, at what point do you know when they've crossed the line from independent care to the need for assisted care?
I can tell you what we look for, and would be again with like the memory care. I can say specifically, I have a resident right now and I'm like, gosh, she was probably the sweetest woman when she was at her prime, but she does have that sundowners thing and dips into things. And now she's starting to display aggressive behaviors where she thinks people are stealing her things. So now she is kind of a danger to herself and others at the community because she does kind of flip a switch a little bit now. She's completely independent physically. Like she walks without any assistance whatsoever, perform all of her daily activities. But again, her behaviors are starting to get to that point. And so we had to start a communication with the family. Tony and I both work with placement agents on like the local level. And I have a few that I really like recommend that to my families when we determine that somebody's no longer appropriate for independent living. So that's on the mental side of things. On the physical side of things, it would be, again, if someone's just continuously falling, because we are non-medical, we always call a lift assist if somebody has a fall. We do give them a pendant and they can hit that button on their own too. But if it's like a continuous thing where they can't transfer themselves, like I mentioned, from like the bed to their wheelchair, or can't transfer themselves to the bathroom, that's again a physical thing where we would say, okay, let's look into some other options for maybe assisted living where they have that round the clock care that can help you with those sorts of things.
Yeah, Stephanie's exactly right on both of those, both for memory care and assisted living. She explained it very, very, very well. And the thing to think about is with independent living, they're great options to start. I often see a lot of times residents, like for example, if your dad's having a hard time transitioning, Stephanie's community might be a good opportunity if you get to that point of him wanting to leave the house, where he still has some of that independence that he's desiring, but doesn't really want to give up some of that independence as far as living at home. I do think the best options, and Stephanie and I both see this every day, where families just, the children get it, the children understand that it's a safety issue, but the parents do not want to move. And that's a difficult thing to give up, as Stephanie mentioned in her presentation, that's a big identity of who they are. I always suggest an in-home assessment, as Stephanie mentioned, and that can be done through Emily that she recommended, or any of the communities can do an assessment, because they're going to be able to determine more than what you can see based on their experience. And the other thing is you have to remember, oftentimes if it's an outside source that's presenting them with different options, they approach it completely differently, because it's not the children that are constantly saying, you need to do, you need to do, you need to do. It's someone else who comes in as a third party that says, okay, these are the things I'm observing. Here's some things we can do to correct this, and giving them those options oftentimes is much more receptive than coming from the children. And it's working together. It's all of you working together. But I've just seen that that's really a good benefit, to utilize an outside source to kind of help you along that transition and that path. Makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tony actually had a family where the adult child, she's a nurse, and yeah, she was crying in my office, and she said, I'm a medical professional. I'm a nurse, and my mom won't listen to me. And I said, it's not you. It's no discredit on your knowledge of anything. You're her child. You know,
Yep.
she's always going to see you as her child.
Yep.
And it's her job to take care of you, not the other way in her mind. Right. And I said, sometimes you just need that third party outside source, and they're going to be more responsive to them than their own children 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Stephanie and I both have lots of resources. Again, we work with agents, we work with companies that do moving transitions from the home into communities. We just have a lot of different resources. The thing with senior living is we're a very tight-knit, somewhat incestuous sometimes group, but it's good because we all rely on each other, and we have lots of resources to help you, whether it be your father staying home, whatever that looks like, whatever that picture looks like. We both have lots of resources, and suggest that, you know, you kind of connect with Stephanie, as I said, and get some of that information that she has available for any of you, not just for Irene.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Irene, if you want to put actually your email in chat so I can send you Emily's information, I'll do it that way for you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. So again, Stephanie, thank you very much for today's presentation. You did an incredible job. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to do it.